Hey everybody, what makes a singing voice not only good, but also addictive? The answer might actually surprise you a little bit, so join me and we'll talk about it.
Don't even look at him, don't open the dialogue, 'cause he'll take a part of you.
Alright, so I pulled up three kind of different, distinct singers. Two of them you're going to know pretty well, and one of them you're not. But there's going to be a through line that you're going to start hearing or trying to, starting to understand when I explain these things, or at least I hope so. That's the purpose of this video. And I want to break that down for you a little bit. It's something I do not hear many singers talk about, and especially not singing coaches or vocal coaches or whatever you want to call people that are doing these types of things. And I think it's absolutely crucial to somebody's success as a singer, somebody's development as a singer, because it's kind of everything. But like I said, people aren't talking about it. So first, once again, I don't care if you like these people or if you agree that they're good singers or whatever. Recently, some of these people that I heard, I started hearing certain parts in their songs where I was like, oh my God, I want to rewind that and just keep listening to it over and over again. It's like candy to the ears. You're just like, oh my God, that's so good. So first one was that I was listening to a song by No Doubt back when I was young, Gwen Stefani, and it was a song called Sunday Morning. This is not that, because I couldn't find a vocal only for that, but this is Don't Speak. The same through line still comes through in this, and we're going to listen to a little bit of her voice, and we're going to start breaking these things down. Ready?
Explaining, don't tell me 'cause it hurts. Don't speak, I know what you're thinking. I don't need your reasons. Don't tell me 'cause it hurts.
Now, why does that voice sound kind of pleasing to listen to? Why does it have an addictive quality? The addictive quality here, and we're going to break it down like this first. Music, most of the music that we love, lyrically will rhyme. Why is that? When something reoccurringly happens and it sounds the same, some part of the brain goes, oh, that's nice. If it doesn't, it literally kind of lets you down. If you've ever heard a song, maybe a more amateur song or something, where somebody was trying to fit things together that didn't rhyme, some part of you is waiting for that payoff, literally waiting for the payoff of the rhyme, and then it doesn't happen, and you're like, and it really doesn't feel good. It actually gives you almost a physical sensation. It gives you the physical sensation the other time when it does rhyme, or when it works really, really well on a syllable level, or all these kinds of things. So there's number one. So what is that teaching us? That's teaching us that when something has a congruent thread line through it that is consistency in tone, or consistency in placement, or a consistency in sound, parts of our brain like that. We gravitate towards that. It feels nice. What's happening, or what these singers are doing, whether they recognize it or not, is they're finding a pocket, they're finding a placement that works for them, and they're reoccurringly going back to that pocket and staying there. So they're finding some kind of a normalization in tone in their voice, and they're staying there. Now, when you start learning how to sing and you're trying to over-enunciate or you're trying to under-enunciate, a lot of people's voices and their placements are going to move around. And once again, placement is if I speak or I sing, if I sing one note, and I just do something like that, my voice is like a laser pointer hitting somewhere in the mouth. Most of the time, we would want it to land somewhere, burps, on the hard palate. Pardon me. Hard palate. And I should be able to tell if you have to be a little bit louder. You should feel some vibration happening. Of course, there's vibration down here where the vocal cords are seated, but we should be pointing that. We can go backwards, back towards the nose, or we can go forwards, and it can come straight out of the mouth, which kind of ruins the tone a little bit. Either way, you're hearing the sound of my head, you're hearing the sound of my skull, you're hearing maybe some jaw resonance, you're hearing different things which are unique to my physiology, and you're hearing that with these people too. Either way, the importance, once again, is how much you stay in that pocket, how much you deviate or don't deviate. So when you hear something like Gwen Stefani singing here, you're going to hear this through line if you start listening for it. I can't sound like her. Don't speak! She does this little kind of interesting feminine baby kind of sound that sits up here. Listen to it one more time.
Don't
Don't tell because it hurts. And it stays there. And then if we go to the verse, it's a little bit different here in the verse, but still.
Our memories, they can be inviting.
Every time she gets into da 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 da, every time she stays in that zone, once again, it's pleasing to listen to. Now, hopefully you're sticking with me here. We're gonna go to Sting. Similar kind of thing here. Sting is known for having a great voice. He can take it high, he can take it low, but one thing about him is that he has a consistency in tone that is just warm and pleasing to listen to.
You take, and every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you.
Oh, wonderful. So how would we go about trying to find something like that? Do you hear it again? He's in the same spot, the same zone. Every breath you take, every move you make, every vow you break, something like that, right? Vows. Anyway, he's staying in that same spot. The more I enunciate, the more I deviate from that. Every vow you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. I start to kind of go like this, and that warmth or that consistency of placement is lost. So I try to find, okay, we're going to talk about how to try to find some of these things in your voice before we get on to the next singer here. One of the ways you can do this is less is always more. Remember that when you're learning how to sing, or you're kind of a beginner or amateur with something like this, you have to walk before you can sprint, before you can all this stuff. You have to work on some of these things on a muscular level. You cannot think your way to these things. They are all based on feeling. This stuff is about feeling. You need to pay attention to your physical body. If you have to close your eyes, whatever. And you're underdoing some of these things so that you can learn what they feel like. And then you're starting to place back in the normalcy or whatever you need to. So my advice right out of the gate is that you're learning how to sing these things in a mushed mouth, empty, no jaw type of way. A relaxed position. Do less. If I sing this song in particular, and I just use my speaking voice, take all the other things out of the equation. Every breath you take, and every move you make, every vow you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. So I'm not doing anything there, and I'm trying to do even less. I'm trying to not open my mouth much. I'm trying to under-enunciate, and I'm trying to just pay attention to where my voice is sitting or wants to sit. The more I do more things, the more it's going to probably try to move around or try to be just confusing to grasp. If you start getting your support down, then we start pushing into those spaces and just getting louder and really being able to tell where that placement wants to sit. Now, another great thing about this is that the more you do this stuff, the more you're going to find your own unique tonality or your own voice, what it wants to do. Because your voice wants to do something and you're getting in the way. Does that make sense? Every time you're like, oh, I can't hit that note, or this is a little too high, or whatever, your voice knows what it wants to do, but you're doing something and getting in the way, possibly over just overthinking it. But every breath you take, every move you make. Do you hear that through line I'm creating there? It doesn't sound like him, but it's my through line. It's my placement, or it's my tonality. And therein lies another part of this again. If you're not getting this, if I took those words away, you should hear that through line perfectly. If I put those words back in, you should hear the same thing, just with words around it. And that's an important distinction here. Words are built around the openness, and they're built around the placement. I hope you're sticking with me here. So anyway, practice some of these songs, practice scales, practice your vowels. Same thing like this. Whoops. You hear how that consistency is there throughout everything I'm doing? One more singer. This is somebody named Dodie, a young English singer as far as I know. She doesn't have a last name that she goes by that I know of. She would show up on my feed at different times, and I always knew it was going to be great. She started making songs way back, probably over a decade ago, on YouTube, and simple, crappily recorded songs, in her like house or flat for the English people, with acoustic guitar and stuff, but very quiet, but very distinct, beautiful voice. And now she's, you know, huge on YouTube and has one hell of a career out of all this stuff. Released a song called Hot Mess recently. We're going to listen to a second of this, and we're going to talk about her voice. All right, let's see where we are here in this video.
When I go take a fucking guess, I'm a hot mess. Wake up, do the same thing. Break up, then we're dancing. Why am I so right to do it again and again? I can't find it. You tried it.
No. Pretend that you don't know what language she's speaking. You're just going to hear sounds. It's still going to be pleasing to listen to. Once again, not to keep beating the same thing into your brain, but why is it pleasing to listen to? You're hearing the same tone over and over again to light varying degrees. No, 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 no. Now, another great thing about this is that there's some singing coaches out there that will talk about opening your mouth as wide as possible and saying things like ping is king. What in the fuck are they talking about? Most of my favorite singers barely open their mouth. The more you open your mouth, not only does that put tension in my face and my jaw and kind of tighten things up, but it also starts to cut off the natural resonance in your head and your skull and your face and everything, because your placement will start to drop out of the face. Ah! Comes straight out of the face. Ah! That's more relaxed. It's sitting back. It's sitting where it needs to, and you're starting to hear what my head sounds like. Somebody like this barely opens their mouth. Once again, find your placement. Find whatever works for you. I'm not trying to call people out and be a prick, but another example, like I said, here is that she's barely opening her mouth, and you can look her up, Dodie. But like I said, when you listen to this, you're hearing the same sound over and over again with a little bit of enunciation around it and an English accent that comes through, which is actually kind of nice too, because that doesn't happen very much.
I'm a hot mess.
When she says, I'm a hot mess, I could listen to that 150 times and still just be like, oh, it's the best thing ever. I'm a hot mess. I'm a hot mess. There's an openness, there's a warmth, there's a pocket there. Some of this making sense? So I'm going to go over to Patreon now, as I tend to do, and I'm going to try to teach some more of this and how to find this. But I just wanted to talk about this more at length because I think it's something, like I said, everybody needs to hear more about. If you're struggling to find this, like I said, remember less is more. Remember that if you're practicing some of these things and you're learning how to kind of calm down the jaw and calm down your enunciation, you're not going to sing like that forever. You're just learning how to do these things on a physical level so that you can then build and kind of do whatever you want. You don't have to learn how to read down Bronze's red on willow made of concrete. You don't have to learn how to sing like that. But it will help you to begin with. So, all right, let's go over to Patreon. Thanks, everybody.